Hey, this is Bruce Boudreau, and you're listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mac, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 175 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
What's up, dude? How we doing? Just gonna grab a little breakfast here. It's a beautiful day here in Maryland. It's gonna get up to like 90 degrees today, which unfortunately means I cannot leave my house. Because as any of you on the East Coast know, that means that you basically can't breathe.
Yeah, I hope you got your Old Spice ready to go, eh?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Cool day for you.
Yeah, probably.
Not a bad life. Yeah, we got summer season pretty much in full effect here. Kind of sad that I won't be making my way over there today, Nick, but we'll plan that another time.
Definitely.
Gonna toss it across the screen to my other co-host up in Milwaukee, Mac Vogel. What's going on, my friend?
What's up? Okay, Nick is talking about how beautiful it is. I would agree. It's absolutely beautiful here in Milwaukee. It's like pouring rain, and I woke up this morning to like the craziest howling wind you've ever heard. It's nasty outside. It's like 50 degrees and rainy and like gotta be like 25, 30 mile per hour winds going out there right now. So yeah, I don't know what happened. It's been nice for a few days, but rip.
I don't envy you on that one. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's been like we have like a drought here. I think we've had like a drop of rain the past like week and a half. I mean, it's been pretty rough, especially
when it rains, it pours though, right? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And all that smoke that came down, like we kind of needed it. But regardless, I'm gonna toss it off to Mr. Jackson Gross. What's going on, my friend?
Not much. I'll definitely say misery loves company because here in Illinois, it's basically the same thing right now. It's in mid 50s, nice rain. It's all that kind of good stuff. But things have been good. Got my first new pair of running shoes in almost 7 years. So getting back on the grind there. Feeling really good about it. Still popping off 7-minute miles. So I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I could not ever dream of that. So good for you. All right, we got a big interview today. Some would maybe say it's our biggest interview. So this is pretty cool. A couple days ago, we finally got in touch with RA from Spittin Chiclets, Rear Admiral himself. We got to sit down with him for about 35 or so minutes and just chat everything from his hockey origin story, Chiclets, him talking to Wayne Gretzky, Stanley Cup Finals, everything you name it. We talked about it. So that's going to be our interview guest for today. So we'll get to that after the question of the day that Mac has for us. And then after the interview, we'll do our Stanley Cup Final update. Keep in mind, we recorded that interview right before Game 3. So
that was like Thursday, I think. Thursday.
Dude, every day that's not Saturday and Sunday blend in at this point. I whatever the right before Game 3 was,
it's easier to go by games.
I would actually agree with that than weekdays.
Yeah. Maybe that says more about us, though.
You know, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people in the same boat.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mac, I'll let you do the QOTD and then we'll get to the interview.
All right. So this one, if you're new here, this is question of the day. We like to spice things up a little bit at the beginning of the interview. Beginning of the episode with a question of the day. Usually doesn't have to do with anything related to hockey. Sometimes it does. Today it kind of does. Similar to the one we did last week. I kind of liked where we were going with the theme last week, so we'll kind of build off of that. So here we go. Let's talk Coke versus Pepsi, but just to spice things up here a little bit. Give me it's a Stanley Cup Final. It's Coke versus Pepsi, but that's like the GM, right? Who's your starting lineup of sodas like for each team?
Is it like all five or like
yeah. So like tell me who's your wingers, your center, your D, and your goalie. So like obviously the Coke side, you've got like Coke, Sprite, And then on the other side, you've got like Pepsi, Sierra Mist, like all the branded sodas from each category.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Like trying to think of like what are like the branded sodas for each category. I can probably get like 2 or 3 deep. and
Okay,
that's
I think
about it.
I can give you like
I have a list
Yeah,
pulled
here
up
we go.
of,
All right.
of at least a decent one
Perfect.
pulled up for each. So
rattle those off, Jay.
all right, so for the fighting Cokes, we got Diet Coke, we got Fanta,
Yep.
we have Pib, we
Yo.
have Fresca, Powerade, Mellow Yellow.
True Powerade. I forgot about that.
Wow.
Are we counting Powerade or are we just
Sure, he
doing
can be
soda?
in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get him in there.
Sprite, Minute Maid, Cherry Coke, RC Cola, and Lilt, Lilt.
Sure.
You don't have to use all the weird ones, but you can throw in like even a Coke Zero if you think he's
Yeah.
like the right
Yeah.
player,
Coca-Cola
Okay.
Orange.
I feel
Mhm.
like we should all four construct like one lineup.
Okay,
if we
that's
could put our
probably-
brains
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
All right, and then for Pepsi, we have Diet Pepsi, Mug Root Beer,
Yo.
Pepsi Max, Pepsi Blue, Sierra Mist, Naked Juice if you're into that,
Jesus, Team Pepsi stinks.
Mountain Dew, caffeine-free Pepsi,
Okay, sure.
and 7-Up.
So I feel
All
like right off the bat, you gotta go with like Mug Root Beer is like your shutdown defenseman.
Dude, I was gonna say the same.
Like, because
Ah!
you know he already drinks out of cups anyway. So that
And
dude
he's like a
wears the
bulldog.
C. He's like your
Yeah.
Chris Pronger, your
Yeah.
Chelios. Maybe he's won it 2 or 3 times already. He doesn't have time for to play around with these younger new sodas. Like Coke Zero and shit like that. He's there for
I would
business.
He's
I would
definitely
even
the
say-
shutdown defender.
I would even say you could also put him at power forward. I think that would be a great spot
Like a
for
like
Mug
a
Root-
fourth line center or something like
Yeah.
that. Maybe.
or fourth line winger like
Yeah. Crashing the
Rafi
net on every
Torres,
play. Yeah.
Gotcha.
something like that.
Mac,
So-
what's one that jumped off for you? I have one in my brain that I was like, I know exactly which one this is going to be.
Okay. For some reason, when I heard Minute Maid, I thought like a speedy second line forward, like
Okay, I'm
like
with that.
Okay.
a second line right winger or something like that.
Just
Like a
takes
Jake
minute
Verana.
shifts. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
a
like
Jake
a
Verana.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like Mountain Dew Amp Energy would be like a 18 or 19-year-old like phenom like sniper center like Austin Matthews or something, but like a lot more annoying to deal with as like Mug Root Beer. So
I hear that.
Uh-huh.
When I heard Pib, the first thing I thought of was like a gritty but can score center, like a Chandler Stevenson.
You're like a
Okay.
third line center.
Yeah, but like he's gritty and he can still like put the puck in the back. Now I immediately thought of Chandler Stevenson. I don't know why my brain does this, but that would be like my first or second line center.
So can we knock out a couple obvious ones here on the Coke side? I feel like your
Yeah.
starting center is Coke,
Yes.
yeah,
and your star winger is Sprite, probably.
yes,
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
And then
That's like your Marchand Bergeron or like, your
Yeah.
Marchand or your Bergeron
Tays and
Pasternak or something. Yeah.
Backy
exactly.
Ovi.
That's the deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with that. We have the defenseman picked. What, Nick? Who was your defenseman again?
I said Mug.
Okay,
Mug. Yeah. Who's the goalie? We need to talk about that real quick.
yeah,
maybe Powerade.
I
don't
could
know.
get behind that.
Or
I
is
could
like,
see
or is
that.
Powerade like McDavid because he's just like perfect and like while everyone else is unhealthy, he's just this perfect, like efficiently machined human being.
Are we really calling Powerade healthy here?
It can
True. Healthier than chugging Coca-Cola on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
I don't know anyone who does that.
Yeah, me neither. Clearly it's working.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I think all in all, if we kind of like said for Coke, you have Sprite. Mick, you said Mug Root Beer, right?
I feel like
Put
Cherry-
Powerade in net, and then you just need a left winger and a right D, probably.
I
I
think
feel like
Cherry
we
Coke.
don't have like a completely loose cannon. Like, who's the player that's out there on Russian gas? And the first thing that came to mind outside of like an energy drink for me was like Mountain Dew or Mellow Yellow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mountain
Yeah.
Dew especially.
Yeah,
Like a total like Garnet Hathaway guy out
Yeah.
there, like not afraid to get dirty.
And
I
like
definitely
maybe
see
it's
that.
just the Talladega Nights thing where he's like, Chip, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew, but
That's a fair point. It could have something to do with that.
I
I
mean,
will also say that based on that lineup you read, Jay, Team Coke wins in like 5 games,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably true.
maybe even 3 at this
maybe
point.
even 3. Yeah, I think we've constructed
We've
this
constructed sort
enough.
of. It doesn't have to be perfect. We've talked about the important players here on this roster. Who wins the Conn Smythe?
Ooh,
Is it just Coke?
Probably
Ooh,
Coke.
Probably. Yeah, he got
Probably
him
Coke.
there. I mean, yeah.
yeah. He's got this. He doesn't wear the C, but he's got the alternate, and he's like the number 1 center. Probably leads the
Yeah.
team in
I
scoring.
don't know. Maybe he does wear the C, and it's like in the cursive Coke like font.
Ooh,
Ooh, well,
Coca-Cola
Nick,
uniforms?
Yo,
that would be kind of tough.
that would be sick.
that would be.
I'm feeling a
Coke.
graphic in the near future.
I just
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know. Okay, so like my brain is going. So instead of like a draft, it's just a vending machine, right? Like they just go up to the vending machine and like with the second pick and you get handed like your dollar bill and
Yeah, that's actually pretty funny. Why do
That'd
I
be
sense
amazing.
not only a graphic but a strange YouTube/TikTok in our
Vending
future?
machine. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good question, Mac. I like that one. Solid. And Jay, thanks for reading off the lists. Just a reminder, that question of the day and this interview with RA is brought to you by Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They have a wide selection of gear from UV shirts to hoodies and hats. It is Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, a little fresh. Brackish Life. Was out on the bay fishing this past weekend with my dad. Had the brackish on, didn't get sunburn. It was nice. Even the tour guide who took us out, shout out to Jonathan, Jonathan Bland. If you're ever in the market for a guided fishing tour, he's definitely your guy. He heard of Brackish Life. He actually owns a shirt, so he's like, oh yeah, it's cool.
nice. You guys got some hogs too.
It's a good time. Definitely a good time. It was also kind of strange. We were fishing like 5 seconds from the inner harbor, which you wouldn't think would be a great fishing spot, but it was
No,
good.
you'd be fishing for bodies mostly.
Yeah, or like 3-eyed like sea
Yeah.
creatures that come out of nowhere. But
Yeah.
that's besides the point. We will not delay any further. We'll do the RA interview right now. All righty, and we are now very pleased to welcome to the Empty Betters podcast, Mr. Rear Admiral himself from the Spittin Chiclets podcast. RA, it is a pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure to be here, my boys. Thanks for inviting me. Sorry I missed you the last time, but now we're deeper in the playoffs, so it might be a little more to talk about here,
Yeah, absolutely. All good. No worries. So we ask every single guest this right off the bat, so we'll do the same for you. Give us your hockey origin story. How'd you get into hockey? What's your first memory?
Oh, man. It's funny. Like I always say, I've been going to Bruins games since the womb, and it's not really even lying because my mother and father, they were, September or August of 71 is when I was actually conceived. I know that sounds kind of strange, but because I was born like in May of 72. So my mother was at games 1, 2, and 5 of the 72 Cup, 9 months pregnant out to here with me. So I was actually in the building. Like I said, I just had obstructed view. I couldn't see the game, but my parents had season tickets. So I was born into like Bruins fandom, just like, that way. Started going to games as a kid all the time and just like a lot of people, you're just born into family fandom. But I always make that joke. It was like cosmic. I was in the garden, not quite out of the womb yet during the Stanley Cup. So it seems like there's a little bit of serendipity there. But yeah, my brother played hockey, so was always around. I couldn't skate for shit. Still can't skate for shit. But just was always a Bruins fan. Went to as many games as we could as a kid. And yeah, just growing up in Boston in the 70s, man, you had to be a Bruins fan.
Yeah, no, that's a great story.
Who was like one of your favorite players growing up?
I know, obviously, as a Boston guy, you kind of behold them to say Bob Ewell, but the truth is, like, he was pretty much done, he was in Chicago, I think it's 76. I mean, I was 3 or 4 years old. Your brain's still jelly at that age. The first iteration of the Bruins I fell in love with was the late 70s, early 80s. They were known as the Lunch Pail AC group. And it was like Terry O'Reilly, Wayne Cashman, Jean Rattel, Gilles Gilbert, all like that whole crew. They lost to the Canadians in 77 and 78 in the Cup. Too many men in the ice, 79. They were this great team that just couldn't get over the hump, the Humpy and the Canadians. But long answer short, I would say Terry O'Reilly was probably like my first favorite Bruin that comes to mind. But that team, you loved every guy on the team. But yeah, Terry O'Reilly, I would say, was probably my first favorite Bruin.
So how did you end up like segueing into covering the team and like writing about them? Was that something you always knew that you wanted to do, or did that just kind of happen naturally?
Not at all. I went to college, just a rinky-dink state school out in Western Mass, and I didn't have any major, nothing like that. I took intro to journalism. I had been reading the paper since I was a young kid and always had an interest in that shit. And I kind of just fell into that. I became editor of the paper and did an internship with the local paper and on the sports department. And, I had, I guess, a knack for it. But this was that what I graduated college in '97. Now, when I graduated, newspapers were just starting to sort of like go into neutral, like not so much dying off, they were sort of neutral. And then within a couple of years, newspapers were dying by the day. I was trying to get a newspaper job, and it was impossible. Like they just not only were there no jobs, they were disappearing. And then Barstool Sports came along, '03. It was just a newspaper early on. And they had a Bruins writer, a young kid. I never met him, but I was a college kid. And he actually referred to Glenn Murray as a playmaker. And the comment section revolted. Now, I know our comment section today is kind of revolting right now, but this was back when it was very much a Boston-centric thing. It was only one city. And Dave El Perez Portnoy was like, hey, buddy, they're revolted. Like, I got to let go of you. They don't think you know what you're talking about. Glenn Murray was anything but a playmaker. He was a sniper. So this is so long ago, Boston. El Prez would put a blog up. The title would say, looking for Bruins blogger, send in submissions. That's how long ago it was. I sent in a blog, never heard back from Dave. The next day, my blog's up there. I was like, holy shit. He never reached out, say, hey, we're going to use you. What do you want to use for name? He just slapped it up and he used my comment, the name Rear Admiral, which I picked because only 8 to 10 of my friends do. I was sort of like a joke proxy for my buddies. So that's how I started writing for Barstool. And I was trying to get a writing job still. I had no designs on, working for Barstool or whatever, because Dave wasn't going to hire a Bruins writer. So I was sort of using that to build my resume. And then, it was like, again, jobs were dying every year. It was like unlikely to get paid. And then Ryan Whitney, who I didn't know him well. We bumped into each other a couple of times. He was local boy made well. He also read Barstool for a long time. So he knew my shit. He knew I knew my shit, basically. So when he sent out that tweet to start a podcast and Biz said, oh, I'm still playing for a couple of years, I kind of half jokingly was like, oh, you're a partner, huh? And he slid right into my DMs. He's like, you serious, Harry? I said, there's a fucking heart attack. He says, do you know how to podcast? I said, no, but I'll learn. 2 months later, we were like, if you took like SoundCloud rappers and Wayne and Garth, and mushed them together, we were literally sitting on my couch doing the show.
That's so awesome.
Upload to SoundCloud. Now, granted, we both knew Dave. I would say we had an in with Dave, and Dave didn't like it. He wouldn't have brought us on regardless. But Dave listened to the first few shows we did. He says, I like it. I want to bring you guys on. And that's when we get the Barstool. And me and Whit, we got to a good level with just us. And it was like a side gig for both of us. And then we brought Biz on. And Biz wasn't like, oh, let's go to Biz. If he says no, go to plan B. Biz was the only plan. Like if he said no, we weren't looking for a third. We were looking for Biz. And he just brought it to another level. Biz is like at that, he's always thinking 7 steps ahead. Sometimes he drives you crazy, but he knew that this could be a lot bigger. So when we added him, it was like kind of to the moon since then. So this is like nothing planned. There was no grand plan. I mean, podcasts weren't even a friggin' thing 10 years ago. So I had no like designs on starting a pod. It just, life just happened sometime. And I've been very fortunate, very lucky. And timing's everything, man, because I was a public school custodian. If I didn't see Whitney's initial tweet, I probably would have jumped off a roof of one of the schools I worked at by now because I was miserable. But yeah, it's funny. There's no real great advice I could give. I just tell people nothing happens if you do nothing. I just glad I kept my finger in that pie of like writing, and it ended up being my big mouth I got hired for.
So that's like one thing I wanted to ask you. We'll definitely talk about the Chiclet stuff in a second, but like you mentioned, like '03 is when that you submit a blog to Dave. You guys didn't start the pod till what, 2015 or 16, something like that?
Yeah, actually, Barstool started '03. I think my first blog was '06, '07. Just so it was about probably 10 years before the podcast.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to touch on is like that 10-year period. That's a grind, right? You're working a full-time job and you're writing. Like, tell us about that time period.
I probably trying to think. I probably had jobs intermittently back then. I wasn't exactly Johnny Carrera at that time. It could get frustrating too. At first, it was great. I mean, if you're a journalism major and having your name, it's like being on the front page of the paper when you're on front page of Barstool. I thought, my writing was a lot better back then. It was because you're hungry and you're trying to get something to get a job out of it. But, Dave did, I wasn't getting paid basically. And that's not a secret. Dave was like, hey, RA, I love your writing. It's yours. That gig is yours, but it's just not, I'm never hiring a Bruins guy. And I mean, Dave's honest. He's upfront and I appreciate that. So at the end of every year, I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm done with this, man. I don't want to do it anymore. Then it's like September rolls around. I'm like, what are you, an asshole, dude? Your words are going to go to however many millions, hundreds of thousands of people. What am I going to take my ball and go home and start a fucking WordPress that no one's going to read? So every summer I would like think, oh, this is it. And then I'd go back and I'm glad I stuck with it. But it was just every year. I just kept going back, but I wasn't writing every game. I'd do like maybe 2-3 a week. So I wasn't like, every day I was working on it. It was probably a couple days a week. But yeah, it got frustrating that I was putting all this time in it and nothing was coming out of it. But at the same time, like I said, if I stop, then what's that going to do? Absolutely nothing. So I just kept sticking with it, like still doing the blogging, still doing the grind. And then I fortunately had met Whitney once or twice, popped in a bar or whatever, ran into him, had a few beers with him. But I was working a shitty full-time job and just grinding, man. Just grinding through life, trying to hope something broke, and it finally did when the podcast come around. So yeah, it got frustrating at times, but it was like, if I stopped doing it, then like I just said, if you do nothing, nothing happens. So I kind of kept that mentality.
Was there a moment when things started to, snowball for the podcast? 2018, I think, is when you guys added Biz. I remember that episode quite well. That one was electric. Was there a moment at all where you were like, okay, this is pretty cool? I didn't think it was going to get this far.
Oh yeah. The first moment, it was probably one of the first interviews we did, because I used to live in Salty. Me and my wife had a place there. And when the players started coming to my house to do interviews in person, me and Whit, and I want to say Torrey Krug might have been the first one, because Torrey come by, Jack come by, I go like Hazy and Johnny Gaudreau come by one time, but I think Torrey was the first. But it was whoever was first. That was like, holy shit! I got NHL guy driving to my house on his own volition to come and do the show. That was like, okay, this is a little bit different than what I'm used to. That was probably the first moment where I kind of pinched myself a little bit.
Well, he's a good Michigan State kid. Of course, he's going to be nice and do that. I always loved that video where he had Prez put on the Sparty jersey for that shootout he used to have him do. That was awesome.
Yeah, Dave with the goalie shootouts. Yeah, he hasn't done one of those for a long time. So, yeah, that was probably the first like holy shit moment. And then they were coming over almost on a weekly basis, monthly basis. But I still have a lot of pinch yourself moments. It doesn't get old. Meeting this one or having this experience or meeting that guy. It still happens quite frequently with the gig.
Do you have this is probably a hard question. You guys have interviewed so many guests by now, but do you have like a one or two guests that really stand out as just like an awesome interview or something that really felt a little different?
It's just like a few hundred of them at this point, but Tim Stapleton is the one I always go to because
that's a great one.
He wasn't a household name. And he's kind of a quiet guy, in general, but we had a few beers, and when you're in the room together, 4 years having beers, and even though you're recording it, you kind of forgetting that how many people are going to be listening to it after. So it was almost like a private meeting, and that kid was so goddamn funny. Like the Russian stories, it's like, oh, I didn't realize this kid was that funny. And like, again, he wasn't like a big name. So I always go to Tim Stapleton. Hilarious, great stories. But I'm a Bruins guy. Cam Neely was my favorite player growing up. That was a personal, like, holy shit, we got Cam Neely on the show because he doesn't like media. He doesn't like to do press. I guess his kid is a fan and kind of talked him into it. A lot of like players, children of players are some of our biggest recruiters because they're like, hey, Dad, you got to go on this show. Cam Neely was another big thrill for me, too. There's a million of them, though. Gretzky, of course. How was Gretzky not a big thrill, too, right? Even if I scared him away.
Can we so what's going through your head after you asked that, and then the guys were ripping on the pod? I kind of understood where you were coming from, though. Like, do you ever like think back like, whoa,
what that I did that or that it happened? Or
no, not that. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it was just funny.
Yeah, and I don't regret it at all because for years on the show, I said it multiple times that I would put Adam Oates against anyone as a passer. Now, back in the 80s, you did not see the Oilers on TV at all, except for the playoffs. There was no satellite dishes, or unless you had one of those big fucking ET ones in your backyard. There was nothing to watch out of town games. There was no, what's the thing on Direct TV? The fucking, you can get all the games.
The center ice package or whatever.
That's the thing I'm thinking of. You got highlights on ESPN, the playoffs, you see a little bit more. Not that you didn't know Gretzky was lighting up, but I didn't really see him a ton. I obviously knew all the records. And Oatsy was a fucking magician out there. So I had said it on the show, and nobody really challenged me on it. No one said, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot." So that night, it was after the interview, we're downstairs at the bar, and there's 6 or 8 of us, and that was awesome. Like Gretzky, like I know when I'm annoying someone talking, I'm like, all right, just leave him alone, Brian. Leave him alone, give him a break. Gretzky was just sitting there. If you're talking hockey, man, he'll just go all day. And you're like this as a little kid at a campfire listening to stories. It's incredible. And then me and Whit were there, and then Whit had walked away, and me and just I'm like, it's just me and Gretzky just talking right now, just the two of us. So we, who's the best this, who's the best that? And I said, who are the best passes? And he started naming defensemen. I saw, shit, I meant to say forwards. I was like, obviously, you, and then I honestly don't even remember who else he named. And I said it like very like innocently, very earnestly, like I was like, was Adam Oates a better passer than you? And like he had about that much left of his drink, and he gassed it, put it down. He walks over to Rick Talk and says, "Talk, I gotta go." He goes, "That kid over there just asked me if Adam Oates a better pass me." Now I'm dying inside, but I gotta keep my. I was like, "Oh my fucking god, what did you just do?" And like I'm waiting for him to like walk by and give me like the wink, like as if he was joking, whatever. No wink. He kept going. So then Whit like, "Oh god, let's go, get the camera on." I already just fucking chased. And I stuck to my guns. I'm like, "Hey, I said in front of you how many times, Whit, you didn't fucking say anything. Now Gretzky's here, so you got to be the big guy." He was leaving anyways. I gave him the perfect setup, like as good as one of his setups. So when I said that, he's like, "I gotta gas this drink and fucking bury this kid right here." So the next day, I was telling his sons what happened. And like I'm pals with a couple of his boys, and they would die and laughing, like, "Oh my god, dude!" Like they're like, he actually likes to get his balls busted, but no one really likes to. I said, that's the ironic thing. I wasn't even trying to bust his balls, but I inadvertently did. So they thought it was hilarious. Like he wasn't mad at all. Like he fucking liked it. So it's become like a running gag for Chiclets, but yeah, I'm glad I did it because I was sticking to my guns, and I'm not saying Oatsy was a better. I mean, that was an opinion I held. I said I put him against anyone, and it was just hilarious the way it played out, But he didn't give a shit.
He was probably looking for an excuse to wrap it up, like you said, anyway. So you can look at it like you assisted Wayne Gretzky on getting out of there.
Hey, there you go.
Trust me, if Wayne wanted another tequila and soda, he was going to get it. It wasn't because I was sitting there asking fucking dopey questions. Put it that way.
So I want to ask you this question, especially since we've been doing this show for like, I don't know, almost 5 seasons now, I think, fellas. But what is a typical like day or week, either one, like look like for you guys now? Like with how much coverage you guys do and how much content you guys pump out, it's definitely changed since you started. So what's it look like now?
Oh yeah, it has. I mean, obviously we got the sandbaggers going on, the vodka, the beer, like very business minded guy, like much more than me and Whit for sure. Excuse me. But my role is basically the same. I just worry about the show. I make sure I stay on top of all the news. I keep notes every day to for the outline for the show. I just basically watch every game during the regular season, or as many as I can, and just stay on top of things. I mean, I don't blog as much as I used to because a lot of my creative energy goes toward the show, and it's like after 17 years, you feel like it's only so many ways you can describe how a guy scored a goal sometimes. So I haven't blogged as much, but that's just more, like I said, the podcast takes up more of my time. But it's just a matter of just staying on top of things, watching everything, getting the news every day, and that's my role. But as far as the other stuff, I don't really have a lot to do with the golf, obviously. I do what I ask, but I would say my role is just basically having the pod ready and driving the bus in the pod.
Yeah, I mean, we keep like a running notes log. I'm sure you guys have some system of your own, but I've always been curious about that because you guys never miss a thing. Like seriously, it's actually impressive. So kudos.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say I may have missed 1 or 2 over the years, but yeah, you just try to find things that are interesting, maybe a little off the beaten path. But the thing is, I always make sure I have more than we need because you never want to be like stuck with nothing, especially like in an interview. I always have way more questions than you need because like I'm not naming names, but there was one guy, Hall of Fame player, and everything was yes, no, yes. Like it was like, oh my god, you got to give us something here, pal. And like I got through all my questions in like 10 minutes, almost all my questions in 10 minutes. I was like, shit, because people usually know they're doing an interview, kind of like me right now. They give you next long answers, and those are kind of tough. Then you're trying to scramble a little bit. So I always make sure I have more questions than I could possibly ask when we do interviews, or try to, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. The interviews you guys pull. I mean, like we've interviewed a couple current NHL guys, couple retired guys, not any like crazy huge names, but how much research goes into that? I mean, you gotta be putting in, close to a couple hours, if not more.
Yeah, absolutely. You just go online and dig and find what you can. I mean, obviously, you go, I instantly go to the let's see, hockey database. Hockey DB, hockey reference. If they're a current player, cap friendly to, look up their salary, the contract, all that shit. And then, I don't trust Wikipedia 100%, as you probably know. I always look for the source of whoever's putting on Wikipedia, but you can find some other stuff there. And then you just got to dig, do Google searches. If I know someone who might have known the person, I'll text them and say, hey, what do you got on this guy? Not dirt, just something interesting. Yeah, you just kind of poke around, prod, and try to find something that might not be known about that guy, and hopefully it becomes news when you guys when we do it on the show. But yeah, just kind of just researching and reading, and it's not boring. I mean, it's all hockey stuff. It's not like it's there's boring shit I'm going through. So just grinding, getting your head in there, and doing a few hours worth of research and being ready when the interview comes.
How's the success of the show affected your day-to-day life? Is it like, if you go for a walk around the corner, are you just getting, mobbed for photos, or is it a little bit more laid back than that?
It's I mean, I could go out and see nobody, or nobody's, that who's like stops and says hello. Or some days it's, 3 or 4 people. If I go to the bar, it's, usually if I go to the bar, someone's going to come up and say hello, but I don't, I was a little kid. I always said I want to be famous when I'm older as a little ham and egger, but no, it's nice when people come up to you and tell you they love the show, or it helped them with this, it helped with that. It kind of fuels you to keep doing what you're doing, because it's like we're fucking 3 goofballs talking about hockey, and we're certainly those 2. I don't even know if they're experts, even though they played the NHL. We have some fun, and I say I've met actors and famous people, and I always go up to them and just say, hey man, I like what you're doing. It's so when people come to me and do it, it's nice. I mean, anytime you get to tell someone that you appreciate what they do, I think you should do it if you have an opportunity. So I love it. Yeah, it's like I go out and people come up and want to take a picture. Hello, it's a pretty cool thing, man. That doesn't get old. Doesn't get old at all.
All right, did you go to the Hurricanes Caps Stadium Series game? You were there, right?
This year, right?
Yeah, Raleigh. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a great time. Yeah.
So I was at that game, and I was flying back, and I think I saw you at the airport, like in security or some shit like that. And I remember like this moment of like seeing him. I'm like, is it him? It looks a lot like him. Can't tell. And I like kind of just like gave you a nod, because I was like, I don't want to go bug him right now. We kind of just like had a nod there, and I'm like, okay, this guy's probably like, who the fuck is this guy? Is that somebody I know or what? But that was enough for me. I didn't want to come bother you, but
no, that no one's ever bothered me. Like if I'm in a grumpy mood or something, I don't want to talk to anybody, then I know don't go. I mean, I would never be rude to anybody, but we all have off days. If I'm just not in the talkative mood or don't feel like bullshit, and then you just don't go out or don't put yourself in that shape. But if anyone see me in the airport, I mean, I absolutely come up, say hello. I was going to ask, was I getting molested by TSA when you saw me?
I don't think so. I think you were right that time, but.
Yeah, no, definitely pop by, say hello. It's always nice to hear from people, whatever the situation. Anytime. If I see you again, come up and say hello next
time for sure.
You mentioned actors. I think, one of the most impressive things I've seen is your performance on Shoresy. What was that experience like?
Oh, that was awesome, man. That was so good. They had reached out to Chiclets about doing some sort of collab, and I don't know if they asked for one of the other 2 first and it trickled down to me. I don't know how that played out, but I know I was the one who went up. And I'll tell you, Jared Kiso, who plays Shoresy, he's obviously the writer, director, showrunner, just an awesome human being, man. Just a great guy. He people are like, oh, why don't you have him on the show? It's like, because he would rather us have people on the show on our like on Shoresy on our show, because he wants other people to get the shine instead of him. And I went up there, and it's funny, like I'm not a fucking real actor, but with me, Jay Onright, Tessa Bonholm, and Kim, the actor who plays the Nick there, Kim Cloutier. And you do it over, and Jared's like Clint Eastwood, man. You're not doing 17 takes like a fucking Kubrick movie. It's just like, all right, get it, we got it, boom, let's on to the next one. And you do it. You have no idea like how it's going to come out, and you don't know what the rest of the show is going to look like. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to fuck this up. And right after I was done for the day, Jared came over and he gave me a big bear hug. He's like, hey man, you exceeded my expectations. That was awesome. And I was like, boom, that was all gravy after that. Cause friends are going to bust your balls, goof on you and all that. And I really didn't get my balls busted all that bad. So I guess I was all right in it. But like I said, Jared was the only guy I really needed to satisfy. And then when it came out and I watched it, I was like, holy fuck, this is good, man. It's, obviously
it was really good.
So they're going to toot its horn or whatever. But I watched it. I'm like, this is really fucking funny. And my wife, like, she's so hockeyed out by now. She even liked it because the one-liners, the fucking chirps in it are so good. So that was an awesome experience, and I got to go back to do season 2 a few months ago. So I hope for season 3, man. It's just special to be a small part of such a huge like I guess cult hit, I guess we can call it at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious if behind the scenes, like, is stuff kind of the same as it is on the show in terms of like the persona that people have. Like, Biz is like a jokester. You got Wit, who's always ranting about something. You're always the steady hand who's guiding the bus. Like, is that how it is in like the group chat behind the scenes?
I mean, I think who you see on the show is who we are. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any real difference, but yeah, the dynamic's probably a little bit different behind the scenes. I'd say, sometimes there's button head, sometimes there's fuck you matches, like like anything. I mean, we're kind of, our own little ecosystem, I guess you'd say, with Barstool. Like, we obviously work with a company and have people behind the scenes, but when it comes to the show, it's just us four, me, Whit, Biz, and Grinelli. We figure out everything from there. But yeah, there's a couple button heads, but I think we work pretty well for them the most time. And there's no character to get into. There's no like, oh, I got to put my face on. I mean, it's not like Rare Admiral's a character. Our is just a nickname, like my Magoo and whatever other 18 nicknames I have. It's not like I got to get into character or like change my mind or whatever like that. It's just lights are on. Let's do the show.
Yeah, I do want to ask one more question, and we can talk some hockey. But I remember this vividly. Big Penguins fan here. My 2 summer vacations in 16 and 17 were going to game 1 of each finals, and my dad and I were on the 4-hour car ride to Pittsburgh to watch them play the Sharks in 16. And I was like, Dad, you gotta listen to this podcast. It's great. And my dad's like, didn't even know what a podcast was. It was funny. And I believe you guys, I think it was 16. You just brought on Grinelli. And you told the story about how there was one show where you guys did the full recording and it just got lost. Like there was some technical difficulty. It was just gone. Like how pivotal has Mikey been in this? Because I can only imagine, learning what I have from Nick over the course of the last couple of seasons, how crazy that whole part of the show can be, the technical side.
Wow. So you're an OG if you've been listening that long, man. Kudos to you. That's a long fucking time. Yeah, like I said, when Whit sent that initial text, and I went out, I knew he wasn't gonna get through the technical stuff. Whit's not a tech whiz. What's actually funny is because I got a wrong link. Basically, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Barstool much, but KFC, who works at Barstool, his brother at the time was big on the podcast stuff at Barstool. So I sent them an email. I say, we're gonna start a show. Which kit do I use to start a podcast? And he sent me a link to order the equipment. So I ordered it. When I got it, it was only for one person. It was one mic situation. So it was useless for me and Whit. So I called a buddy of mine who had a different circuit board, whatever the frig they're called, for 2 people. So I started using that. So me and Whit were just using that. I would record it on GarageBand, send the file to like an intern or whatever. He would do whatever. I don't even know what he did, and then would get it uploaded to SoundCloud. So me and Whit were doing it one day, and like going back and forth. And I looked over to hit pause or stop, whatever, and the thing was like fried and nothing was there. I was like, what the fuck? What happened? I'm like, I don't know, man. I goes, I have no idea. I goes, fuck, we got to, everything was lost. 45 minutes, we were killing each other. It was such a different vibe back then, too. It was just me and Whit. And I was like, shit. I goes, you know what? I got an email from this kid yesterday, because I get emails all the time. The show's good, but your sound sucks. Like, I can help you out, but we needed someone in the room with us. You couldn't do it with, someone in fucking Milwaukee or whatever. I goes, I got an email from this kid yesterday. He lives in Burlington. I goes, and I saved it because he was local. The next fucking day that thing happened with the recording shit to bed. So I reached out to Grinelli to come down. And because fucking KFC's brother sent me the wrong link or the wrong equipment, that opened the door for Grinelli, because I had to borrow my buddy's old shit, that shit to bed. Now, if I got the original stuff, might have went a totally different way where we didn't have that breakdown and I might have someone else come in. So yeah, like KFC's brother's mistake lets Grinelli get in the door. When he came in, obviously that was one less thing me and Whit had to worry about. He can kind of guide us through all that, worried about all the technical shit. And Mike's been vital, like behind and in front of the scenes. He's grown a lot in the job. He does a lot more than just the producing side. And he's been a key cog in the machine for sure.
That's a crazy story. Never heard. I don't think I've ever heard that one. That's pretty wild.
It is. It's timing's everything in life, man. And you can't predict it. Just like if I miss Whit's tweet or if Grinelli's email, if I just junked it like others because if he was out of state or whatever, or if KFC's brother sent the right link, then who knows where we'd all be, man. It's just kind of crazy. All these things that just kind of went into place. And again, no grand plan at all whatsoever.
I remember when we started the same way, we were doing one USB microphone, passing it back and forth, and we would listen to every episode at the end to make sure it sounded okay. And we lost a couple because there was echo or feedback or whatever, or it was a shitty mic or something. So it's a grind for sure.
Yeah. And especially when you don't know any of that stuff. Like I wasn't like an audio expert or anything like that. So it was, I didn't know what to do. I would hit one button, send it over. So we needed a guy, and G came in, and it's just, here we are fucking 7 years later, still getting it done.
That's crazy. But want to talk about this year's playoffs just a little bit here. Obviously,
yeah, absolutely.
We're recording this on the evening of June 8th. We're about to have game 3 underway here between the Cats and the Knights. What have your thoughts just on the playoffs as a whole been so far? And then we can chat Cup final specifically.
Yeah, like it's typical. Sorry, I'm getting text. Typical. First round was probably the best round so far. I mean, we always get great series in the first round. Second and third, there were 4-1 sweeps, all that shit. It kind of takes a little sting out. I think the players have been pretty good. I think the Cup, man, we need a Florida win tonight, not just because I got a future on it, but we don't want a 3-1, 3-0 lead in the Cup. You need a fucking good series. I think on a whole, I would probably give them a B. Yeah, I think we could have used a few more series. I wouldn't mind if they went back to like the 1-8. I know they're trying to get the rivalries pumped up back in the day, but I just don't think the current fans like feel that because they didn't grow up with them. The divisions have changed, teams have switched conferences, all that shit. When I was a kid, early 80s, it was always you had to fight your way out of your division. The Bruins had to fight their way out of the Adams division. But it was so different back then. Those divisions had been like in place. So I wouldn't mind if they went back to 1-8. But yeah, I'd give the playoffs a B so far. I mean, they started off great, then there were some shit series in the second round. But the play's been great, man. I mean, every team is good. Every team has at least one, if not two, superstars nowadays. And the game is in a good place. But yeah, the playoffs, it hasn't been the best, but certainly not bad at all.
You were at the game 7 between Florida and Boston, round 1.
Yep.
When they win that game, I mean, did you see that they could maybe go all the way at that time, or was it still like, oh, okay, it's kind of a fluke? I don't know how much further they'll get than this.
You know what? I kind of feel like I've seen that movie before where a team comes in with a full head of steam. I mean, Florida was basically playing playoff games for the last month and a half, and the Bruins had nothing to play for other than personal accolades or the record or whatever. They were kind of in cruise control. And what's his name? Maurice undressed Montgomery in that series. So I said, well, this team, Bobrovsky, we've been saying $10 million for what? And then it's like, oh, okay, that we forgot how good he can be. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a little bit of a run here. And I bet the shit out of them basically ever since then. So I probably gave a lot of it back the last 2 games. But I wasn't surprised because I think people forgot that this team won the President's Trophy the year before. They upgraded from Huberdeau to Kachuk. They did lose Weegar, which basically just opened the door for Montour to get more time. So I think, yeah, people just took it for granted, similar to Vegas. I mean, Vegas was a really good team. They weren't great last year, and they made some moves. And I think that they're a great story too. Adin Hill, I mean, 4th on the depth chart, and now he's on the verge. Well, not the verge, but he's 2 games from a cup and possibly a Conn Smythe. But yeah, Florida, I'm not surprised they kept grinding. I'm actually surprised how bad they looked the last 2 games, which is probably more indicative of Vegas's roster and how good Vegas is. But yeah, not surprised that they marched on, man. I've seen that before. Teams that they're a well-oiled machine when the playoffs roll around, and the confidence is through the roof. So yeah, it was. I mean, the Bruins, dude, they shit the bed. Like I don't mope about it. I'm fucking old. Like I was saying, I'm middle aged at this fucking stage. I can't get too high or low about my hockey team. You get older in life and things happen, and you're not a young kid like where you're living and dying with your team anymore. And I'm over it before I leave the building. Like it's like, all right, they lost. I'm not gonna mope. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Florida they had three chances to beat them. They couldn't. They had a late blown lead, and Florida deserved it, man. Hats off to them.
Do you have a Conn Smythe favorite going right now? Would you say it's Adin Hill? Anyone else jumping out to you?
Well, I mean, Bobrovsky definitely going into the Cup was the favorite. I mean, he's struggled a bit now, taking the shine off. Kachuk, obviously, another Florida Panther. I'd say those 2 from Florida. And if Vegas were to win, yeah, I mean, Jack Eichel probably up there too. I mean, even when he's not scoring, Jack Eichel, man, his game has come fully around. He's 200-foot player. He's what everybody's kind of been expecting of his career to be. So him, and I would say, yeah, Adin Hill are probably the 2 favorites from Vegas if they were to win it. Yeah, and I actually bet, I don't know if it was the second round. Adin Hill was 40-1. I actually bet him to win the Conn Smythe at 40-1.
Whoa.
But I got Florida to win. I want Florida to win the Cup because I got more money there. But if they were to lose and Adin Hill gets the Conn Smythe, that'll be a nice consolation prize.
We haven't seen that in a while. I think the last one I can remember is 2003 with Giguère, right?
Yeah,
with the winner not being the
winner of Conn Smythe on the losing team. It's only I think 4 times it's happened.
Wow,
Giguère was one of them. I think 3 of the 4 has been a goalie as well. Yeah, this guy just plays so goddamn good. How does he not get it? But Bobrovsky, if Florida were to lose and Bobrovsky, plays his ass off the next few games, he might get back into the favorite position. But if Vegas wins and Adin Hill keeps playing the way he's playing, man, it's going to be tough for voters to decide between him and Eichel, because you got to remember it's the whole playoffs. It's like who's been doing this consistently all 4 rounds, not just one particular series. So.
Marchessault has been maybe in that conversation too. A little more recently, though, I'd say, like you said, maybe Maybe not as much for the whole playoffs, but
yeah, great call. Yeah, I mean, he's got what 12 goals right now, I think. Yeah, he's another name that could be in there, and we still got anywhere from 2 to 5 games left. So, I mean, if a guy were to score 6 goals for the rest of the run, any player, then you got to put him in the conversation. But if gun to head right now, yeah, I would say probably Eichel or what's his name, Aiden Hill, just because Vegas is up 2-0 right now.
What do you think Florida needs to do to turn this thing around?
Shit. I don't know. If Vegas just fucking ran their shit for the end of the last 2 periods last game, I just kind of get back to whatever they were doing before. I think Maurice said that they were hitting too much or trying to be too physical, which, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what he meant by that, because Vegas isn't like burying people. They're just playing their game. They're not like doing anything outstanding. They're such a good team. They just go out and fucking play their game. They haven't been killing people out there. They're just killing them with goals. They just got to go out and have that mentality that they had for the entirety of the playoffs so far. I mean, it could be a situation where they're just maybe out of gas a little, overmanned, but I think they're going to come out with a good response tonight. I mean, it's essentially their season tonight. You go down 3-0 in the cup, chances are you're not coming back, most likely. So I think tonight, we'll see a different squad tonight. They'll make it 2-1 and then at least get a series out of it. But they're just going to come out, play their game. I'm assuming it's Bobrovsky. Did they confirm that yet?
I would assume so.
I would think so. We talked about it last episode. I don't think you can even really talk about not putting him in at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Lion was great. He got them in the playoffs. But you got to go back to Bobrovsky. He had a bad game last game. He hit the 3rd goal in game 1. That was like, it seems like ever since that, like you could see his body language right away. He knew he should have had that one. And I don't know if that kind of put, something in his head there. He's kind of down, been on a downslope since, but I don't know. I got a feeling he'll bounce back. Great goalies typically, not that he put up a 7 spot on him, but if they have a bad game, goalies like him usually come back, have a good one after. And he lost 2 in a row. I think he was 10-1 after a loss all season. So he lost 2 in a row. I think Bob's going to be great tonight. They just got to get some goals. Their power play is fucking terrible. Yeah. They got nothing going on that. I don't know if they don't have a quarterback for it. It just seems like, how do you have all that talent out there and not be able to, totally get a decent power play going? But hopefully we get a W, man. Nobody wants to see a fucking 3-0 lead except for Vegas fans, right? Vegas
right.
Fans too.
I think Florida's also got to stay out of the box. I think they had 11 penalties in the first game or something like that. Yeah. And definitely just about as many in the second. So they got to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, and Vegas, as business said a million times, least penalized team in the league all year. So, you can't expect them to take penalties. So, Florida's got to be disciplined as well. Good call on that one.
Any game 3 action, or are you staying clear? I mean,
it's funny. I'm looking at we got 40 minutes to puck drop right now. I mean, I already have Florida for a series bet. So it's like, if I bet them and they lose, now I'm just, losing more money. Which I'm probably still gonna just for shits and giggles. I don't know. I mean, both games have gone over. There've been a lot of scoring, but I feel like we're due for an under. But it's like, if you bet the under, it's like you're
sucks
instead of goals. So I literally don't know who I'm taking right now. I haven't even looked at the lines yet. I'm such an old school guy that you just have to wait till 6:30 to call your guy back in the day. So I'm still kind of like conditioned to do that. So I haven't looked, but I'm probably gonna throw a little something on Florida, maybe the puck line just for shits and giggles. But because like I said, I got a future on back in February, 40-1. I throw it in. People are like, oh, dude, you bet half the teams. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, but I also got fucking 40-1 on Florida right now. So I can hedge if I want. I didn't go into the series, and I don't regret it. Whatever. I had a couple other pools I was in. I happened to draw Vegas. I'll make some money either way, but I don't know. Let's just get a win from Florida, boys. We
need an overtime game for Florida's sake. They're undefeated in overtime. Yeah. So
well,
plus, bet the draw or something.
Exactly. Plus, I'm flying to Fort Lauderdale in the morning for Game 4, and we're scheduled to go from Lauderdale to Vegas for Game 5. So I want a Game 5 to go to at least. Yeah. And if there's a sweep, I don't know if we're still going to Vegas or not. Maybe not.
At least go for the parade at that point.
Right. Go for the parade
in Vegas.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got. You guys got any other questions for RA?
I'm good. We'll let you go. Thanks so much, RA. It's been fun.
Yeah. Oh, my pleasure. By the way, Jackie O'Callahan sweater. I noticed that up there. Is that always there? Or did you put that there for me?
No, it's all. I got it at an auction last Thanksgiving. It's an authentic signature, allegedly. I got to get it framed. But
he's got. I grew up same street as Jackie.
Really?
Charlestown. Yeah. He grew up right down the street. Yeah. It was a huge pride for the Charlestown back then when we had beat the Ruskies and a guy from Charlestown was on the team. It was pretty special time.
Best movie ever.
Yeah, man.
We got to chat with Patrick O'Brien Dempsey about his role as Rizzo, and that was fantastic.
Oh, nice. Yeah, as much as I love that movie, I mean, I get Slapshot as the number one hockey movie.
Okay.
I know I sound like a Canadian saying that, but it's just, I don't know. It's
That's a good one too.
It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix right now too. If you haven't seen it for a while, Slapshot.
Oh wow, didn't know that.
Oh yeah. When I hear young hockey players haven't seen Slapshot, it kind of kills me a little bit inside.
We had that one on VHS growing up, and I think my mom was out of town one weekend, and my dad was like, "We're watching this, and you're not telling your mom about it." I was probably like 9 years old or something like that.
That was me. My parents were divorced when I was a kid, so my dad. That's all we did was go to the movies, and he probably said that once a week. Don't tell Ma. Don't tell Ma. Don't tell Ma.
I had that with Kingpin. A couple other ones come to mind, but yeah.
If they even did it nowadays, someone would be calling Child Protective Services on him. His day.
Seriously.
Some of the movies he took us to. So,
well, all right, we appreciate it. I want to leave you with this. We've been doing this show for 5 seasons now, and I can confidently say that me and Nick started this, and then Mac joined a couple years later. But your RA Gambling Corner is really what inspired this. Like, that was so cool for us.
Absolutely.
And
wow.
That was such a big thing in college. Like, we were trying to scrape a couple extra bucks, and then we were like, why not do this? And we've been 5 seasons strong. So, you're kind of an inspiration to us, and we appreciate the time.
Wow, man. Thanks, man. That means a lot. And I apologize for all the money I cost just back in the day.
No, you're all good.
No, really. That means a lot, man. That's very nice to hear. And I appreciate that very much, guys. Really, that's awful special. Thank you.
Yeah,
of course.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you. Enjoy the game. Let's go, fucking Cats.
There you go.
Let's go.
Thanks, boys.
A huge thanks to RA for joining us. That was a lot of fun. I know we definitely enjoyed that one. And I thought he enjoyed it too. It seemed like he was having fun with it.
The Gretzky story is so good. I mean, that was
so
my
funny.
favorite part for sure.
He's so funny too.
He's a great storyteller too. That was my favorite part about the interview.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So once again, thanks to RA for joining us. That was awesome. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We're going to move on to the Stanley Cup Final update. We are recording this on Sunday morning, June 11th. So last night, Game 4 just ended. So we'll catch you up to speed here real quick. Game 3, Florida ended up winning 3-2. We'll talk about that first. Brandon Montour, he opened the scoring in the first period. And then Vegas came back and took a 2-1 lead going into the third with goals from Mark Stone and Jonathan Marchessault. And then Matthew Tkachuk does what he's done all postseason, scores a huge game-tying goal in the last couple of minutes in the third period. He got rocked by Kolesar earlier in that game, left the game, came back, tied it up. And then, ironically enough, Max said this in the last episode. He said, Florida just needs to go to OT and Verhaeghe can score an OT winner. And sure as shit, that's exactly what happened.
You know what? I also want to point out, I got huge off the floor, on the board vibes from that Matt Tkachuk situation where he leaves the game, comes back, scores a huge goal. Electric, just really good stuff. That's what I think a lot of people were looking for, was a game like that, where Florida gets back into the series, but also, a goalie pulled goal to tie it up and then OT winner. That kind of, I feel like, injected some life into the series.
It was a frustrating game for them too. I mean, Vegas is doing such a good job about not only suffocating them, but they can't really even get chances off when they do gain the zone. I mean, they're shooting into sticks, bodies, shins, skates the whole time. And Mac, like you said, that Tkachuk goal, they finally move it laterally, get an open lane, get the puck on net, rebounds created. He sticks it in the open net. So it was great to see them finally be able to break down that coverage and break through when they needed to the most.
Yeah, it was a frustrating game for Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like they were trying to get a lot of, they were going up and down the neutral zone, like trying to chip and chase, and Vegas just kept knocking pucks out of the air. They didn't have Matt Tkachuk, and then in the third, they finally broke through. I do think it's worth noting that Carter Verhaeghe this postseason has had one hell of a run. He is now what, 1, 2, 3? He's like 4th all time in most playoff overtime goals in NHL history. You got Joe Sakic in first with 8, Richard with 6, Patrick Kane has 5, Corey Perry has 5, Glenn Anderson has 5, and then Carter Verhaeghe has 4.
That's crazy.
Pretty nuts. 2 against the Caps last year and then 2 this year.
Yep.
That's crazy. I mean,
yeah.
Verhaeghe's just that guy. For anyone who follows me on Twitter, I posted that meme I made a while ago of like you've just been owned by Carter Verhaeghe, and I always love bringing that out. So shout out to him.
He definitely is. I think going back to the game 3 for a second, at one point in the second period, I think Florida had like 15 shots on goal and Vegas had blocked like 19 more.
Yeah, it's very apparent. And it's kind of like what I said with the defensive core in the last episode. Like McNabb is just eating pucks for dinner, like left and right. Pietrangelo eating pucks for dinner left and right. They block everything. It's incredibly frustrating if you're a Florida fan.
Florida did everything possible to lose that game. Now,
also that
they basically set up a timeshare for 6 years in the penalty box, but I do want to
that's fucking good.
I do want to make one thing explicitly clear. The call with like 11 seconds left, where like I think it was Chandler Stevenson's feet, him and someone else, their feet kind of get tangled up. It gets called like a trip.
Soft.
Very, very soft. I know it's like, I know you're trying to call the game and you've been calling penalties all night. I'm not saying you don't make the call because of it's that point in the game. I'm saying it probably shouldn't have been a penalty in the first place.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That was something that went, I want to say like semi-viral on Twitter too. People were like, seriously, like at this point in the game, you're going to call that?
Yeah.
I do think it's worth noting, kind of fast forwarding just a second. Halfway through game 4, I read on Twitter that Florida had more penalty minutes in this series than the last 5 teams who lost the Stanley Cup had through the end of their series.
That is insane.
Yeah. So like take last year for instance. We had Tampa and Colorado. That went what, 6?
Yep.
So that means that Florida would have more penalty minutes than Tampa did through 4 games as Tampa did in 6 games. It's like you can't do that and expect to win. And the Knights power play is money right now.
They're humming. I think, they came into this series at 18%. I think in the series, at some point in game 3, they were operating at 36%.
Yeah, it's definitely something that Florida's got to watch. So Florida takes game 3. Everybody was thinking, oh, thank God we don't have a 3-0 series. Maybe this is going to be a little bit of a battle here. And then we go on to game 4, where Vegas ends up winning a gutsy 3-2 game on the road, take a 3-1 series lead, and heading back to Vegas for game 5 to potentially hoist the cup.
You want to talk about somebody who's that guy? We're saying Carter Verhaeghe, Chandler Stevenson, man. Holy crap. That guy
was the X factor moment right there.
I mean, is it insane to say he's like suddenly kind of in the conversation for MVP here? Like,
I mean, that game definitely puts him in it, I think. I don't think he'll end up winning Conn Smythe, but yeah.
It's kind of like what RA said, though. It's like as soon as one guy has some crazy game, like you can kind of at least start talking about him in that conversation because it's the Cup Finals and you do something like you have one standout game that matters a ton. All of a sudden, you're in that conversation.
True.
Yeah, he had the first 2 goals of the game. He had a breakaway goal that was a nice 5-hole snipe for the first one, and the second one a one-timer in the slot. And then Will Carlson, he ended up extending the lead to a 3-0 lead for Vegas later in the second period. And then a guy that I want to talk about a little bit later on, Brandon Montour, he ended up getting another goal. He's been scoring like a machine here lately. Cut the lead to 3-1. Barkov, good call, Jay, ended up making it 3-2. But that was about all Florida had. Aiden Hill stood on his head in that third period.
He did. 2 huge saves. I know everyone's going to want to talk about the one at the end on Tkachuk. It would not have counted anyways. So I'm more focused on there was like a chance like 3 or 4 minutes before that where he just robbed someone through traffic. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I feel like you had something to say and I cut you off by accident.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, happy to call that Barkov big game. For those who are wondering, it was -208 for Barkov, over half a goal, and I think it was -128 for over half an assist. So it was great to see, but just thinking about that game, that third goal was such a rough one for Bobrovsky because there was a weird deflection. He gets some of it, and then it still just goes in, and that's a tough way for that goal to be the decider when pretty much that entire game, both goalies were great.
The first goal was a little weird too. I think it was just weird to me how he reacted. Like he had a very like delayed reaction to like the puck was already in the net and suddenly he's like flopping around in the crease, like looking for it. So
It's kind of like he just like didn't pick it up on like where it was or something. Like
Yeah.
where it was
Mhm.
moving.
he like didn't read it. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I think he played well. Both goalies played well, like Jackson said, but I think I never thought I would say this, but Aiden Hill has the edge in goal so far.
Seriously though.
And Jay, just to I think minorly correct your statement, it's probably plus 208. So that's a nice
Okay.
little payout you had there. Plus
Yeah.
208 for the goal and probably plus 120, whatever you said for the assist.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
No, you're all good. Most goals by a defenseman in a single postseason run all time. Brandon Montour has now put his name in that top 5. Paul Coffey had 12. Dustin Bufflin had 11. Brian Leach had 11. Victor Hedman had 10. And then this postseason, Brandon Montour has 8 goals.
Wow.
I love that Big Buff is in there at number
Yeah.
2. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is cool. I'm trying to think of
my
what
guy.
run that was. Was that had to be with the Hawks, or was he still
Yeah.
playing offense?
I think it was.
I was gonna
Hawks.
ask, like, was he still a forward when
He
did
was a
this?
winger with the Blackhawks during that run.
Oh, so
So it's
So-
a Jets thing.
it's like a weird Jets.
He had
one?
11. Is this 18 where he had
I was
like
about to
11
say,
goals?
could
It has to be.
because that team was loaded. Was he still on the team then?
He was. He had I know he had like 2 big overtime, like just
Okay.
buff from the blue
Yeah.
line, put a hole in the back of the net kind of
Yeah.
bombs, but
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be.
11? Wow.
That's
It's a
wild.
lot. Yeah. I mean, I guess when you hear it's Bufflin, it makes sense. He's got that clapper from the point. But
I mean, look at that list though, like Coffey, Hall of Fame, Leach, Hall of Fame, Hedman going in the Hall of Fame.
yeah, it's pretty impressive. And Montour, a guy who kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but I don't think anybody saw this coming.
No,
Like,
it's someone
how good he's been.
Anaheim did not want.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a total like pass up situation, and
Which-
then like
Can we talk about Anaheim for a second? You're looking at Shea Theodore,
Yeah.
Brandon Montour, and Josh
Oh.
Mahura too for the Panthers. All guys you basically said we don't want that are now in the Stanley Cup Final.
quack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. That's a rough look. That's
Yeah.
Nick, I was thinking about that Shea Theodore the other day because I was like, I'm pretty sure he was on the Ducks for at least a second, like,
Yeah.
or maybe longer. I don't know, but now
That
you
was
say
like
that,
the one I remember from the expansion draft. I was like, really? You're gonna let this guy go?
yeah, and
Ugh.
that did not age well
No.
Yeah.
for them at least. So we got Vegas up 3-1 in the series. We are going to have Game 5 at T-Mobile Arena on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Vegas has a chance to become the fastest expansion team ever to win their first cup. If they were to win the cup this season, they would have done it in 6 seasons. The current record is held by the Flyers, who did it in their first 7 seasons. Vegas is minus 160 on the money line. Florida's going to be plus 130 for Game 5. Over-under is set at 5.5. And according to MoneyPuck.com, Florida has a 7% chance to pull off the 3-1 comeback. There's only been one team in NHL history who came back from a 3-1 deficit in the Stanley Cup Finals, and that would be the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs, who did it against the Red Wings.
Classic team. I mean, some of my favorite players on that team were, Tungsten Arm O'Connor.
Yeah.
And,
Thomas Addison or some shit like that. Yeah.
and,
Bill Clapper Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie Grits Johnson.
Barstool
man.
Jimmy and the
Yeah.
defensive gang.
One-eyed
guys.
Willie and
Yeah.
Tattoo Tony.
Nick's gonna have coming out his nose here.
Oh man.
Always got to break out the I cheated with the first one because there's a Twitter joke about old baseball teams. It's like
They're so
who was
funny.
on that
It's
team?
so
Tungsten
funny.
Arm O'Doyle.
Tungsten Armo Doyle.
Who forget the Mets brothers
There you go.
on that team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not even a joke. They're actually Mets brothers on that team.
Oh shit. Okay
Yeah.
then.
Don
Nice
and
little-
Nick Mets.
Nice little fact check there.
Was Bill Barilko on that team? I
Bill
feel like I might
Barilko?
actually know that one.
Who the hell?
Sergeant
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw
Sergeant
it.
Bilko.
He came back from
No.
the war and played.
Yeah.
Style Apps was the captain of that
Oh.
team, and he was
What-
born in 1915.
He was a
Apps.
leader on and off the
Yeah,
ice.
yeah.
What was his name, Jay?
Style Apps, Sylapps.
Oh my god.
Wow.
That's incredible.
wow.
I do think it's worth noting teams that do trail in the finals 3-1. We just said Toronto's the only team to do it. They're 1 in 36 all time. So
Gotta
I don't
hit
want
at
to say
some point, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Right. They did it against the Bruins. Why not now?
Hey.
I think it was looking a little bit better against the Bruins than it's looking now. I think they're frustrated. You can tell that team is frustrated unless they have like a hard reset, take out the N64 cartridge and blow on it moment.
I also
I don't
think
know.
Keith Jones said something that made a lot of sense to me right before game 3 started, or sorry, right before game 4 started. And he was basically just saying, like, they asked him, what do you expect from tonight's game? And he said, I expect Vegas to play their best game of the series. This is going to be the hardest game for Florida to win this entire series. And it kind of was. I mean,
Yeah.
Vegas they were stingy and they were definitely frustrating the Panthers, like Nick said. There wasn't much they could do.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It's a
this
great
ties
point,
in,
Mac.
Yeah, this is going to tie in perfectly with our discussion portion of the episode, who is presented by Kane Footwear, and I think Nick has a word from them.
Yep, like Harry said, you guys know I'm probably going to be hanging by the pool all day today because it's going to be hot. I'm going to feel gross. It's humid in Maryland. It's humid on the East Coast. It is what it is. But I'm going to be rocking my Kane Footwear the whole time to keep me cool. They're going to keep me cool by the grill. You can jump in the pool with them, no problem. Hop right out. They dry in like 30 seconds, Harry. I don't know if you've noticed that, but even like when I go to like clean mine off, they dry super quick. They just dropped a bunch of new colorways. They just dropped a bunch of new college editions for the people that they do college collabs with. So go check them out. They don't have Sparty on there yet. Wonder
Good
what's
enough.
up with that. And I don't see Towson Tigers there either. I mean, come on. Two of their biggest ambassadors are alumni. I mean, come on. It's lacrosse season, or it just finished. So, we need them. Go check out Kane Footwear. Hit the link in our bio today to get a pair of the most comfortable shoes you will ever own.
There you go. Yes, thank you, Kane, for sponsoring the discussion segment. Love the shoes. Great summer shoes. We've said it time and time again, so go check them out. Link in bio will help support us if interested. All right, I'm going to kind of make two discussion portions. So, one, how can Florida come back? We'll talk about that. And then two, I want to get predictions for Game 5 on Tuesday night. So let's start with...
For starters, continue the F-16 flyover above your arena. That should be mandatory at all times. That was electric.
It was cool. Which one of you sent text? It was a text that was like, it was comparing Vegas's like pregame to Florida.
That was me.
What'd you say again? It was funny.
I said Florida had the F-16s and Vegas had Wayne Newton do like the siren. I was like, yeah, this is a difference. Like someone's going to win the Stanley Cup.
Not in the same league. Yes.
Yeah, not at all.
That was pretty funny. So let's start with Mac. Mac, what do you think that Florida has to do? You could just name one or two things if you want that will help them maybe come back and beat the odds.
This is tough. I mean, you want to say like stay out of the box, but they kind of did that a little bit last game and it still didn't work.
Yeah.
I think they got to start scoring the first goal and not chasing these games. Like they gotta be the one in the driver's seat for some of these games down the stretch here, if there's even more than one game left.
It's a very, very good point. Because they can't continue to claw their way back from behind. Vegas can do that. Florida's not built to do that.
Yeah, and they have to they have to just go after it and pounce, and they have to just kind of like you said, claw their way back in.
Jackson, what about you?
I'm gonna definitely agree with that. I just feel like Florida's a team that's built to go up by a couple of goals early and just kind of hold on for dear life and park the bus at that point. But just watching some of the highlights from Game 4, like Vegas was just all over them, not only defensively but offensively. I think at one point the shots were like 5-1 at least on goal for Vegas, and for Florida you can't have that. You got to put in like 2 or 3 shots immediately if you get into the zone. Just get as many chances as you can and just try to beat the odds that way. The more chances you throw on net that actually can get through, I think that the better shot they have actually putting some behind Aiden Hill.
And
That's another great point, Jay. And to expand on that a little bit, I think they've got to really focus on making that power play work. I don't really think a lot of those looks have been high quality looks on the power play. It reminded me of another team that wears red sometimes, with, you know, them getting set up and
Masterclass.
lack thereof. But, you know, maybe don't look for the bumper play from behind the net. You know, I think Vegas has the book on you now. I think they know it's coming.
Yeah.
Change up your zone entries. Just, you know, let's go back to north south and just get it down there. You guys have some, you know, gritty forwards that can go get the puck. So
Is this a case of Paul Meow Reese needing to make an adjustment, or what do we
God damn
think?
it. Oh God.
It's all about playing the cat and mouse game at this point.
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean,
exactly.
you don't want to sit there just like batting at a ball of string either. You want to
Mhm.
come up with
Yeah.
something that's, you know, decisive. And
I mean, listen, for game 5, it really comes down to they're sitting right next to their food bowl, and are they gonna get it filled or not? Or, you know, is the hand that feeds going to deliver?
yeah.
And if they don't, Vegas is going to bury them in their litter box. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
wow.
really, I mean, I don't even think they have to do too much to be catnipping at the Knights' heels.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, otherwise it's just gonna be a big old hairball.
God damn it. All right. Well, that was actually a good segment. That was actually impressive how you kept that going. I think who said something about the power play? I got lost in the
There was
meow.
Nick.
That was
Okay.
Paul Meow Reese had you a little
Paul
distracted.
Meow
there.
Reese. If I'm Paul Meow
sorry.
Reese,
Sorry, the meower play.
yeah. If I'm
God damn it.
yeah, this needs to stop. If I'm Paul Meow Reese, I got to be looking at my captain and saying, you know, I need a little bit more out of you. He showed up in game 4. Mr. Barkov did. He had a goal and an assist, not knocking him on that. But the 3 games before that, 0 goals, 0 assists. And in those first 3 games, he had a total of 6 shots on net. He had 6 shots on net in game 4 alone. So I feel like he finally woke up a little bit, but he looks hurt. And I know he was hurt, but he looks hurt to me. And that's a big loss.
I think he is. I mean, we know Kachuk is. He was basically using one arm last night. I was glad, you know, like you said, that Barkov started to call his own number, because I'm like, dude, just start shooting the puck. Like, you just got to throw it on net at this point. So
right, because Montour's been the only one who's shooting, and I mean he's scoring, but he can't do everything by himself. So
yeah.
What did you guys think of the extracurricular activity that happened at the end of game 4 there? There was a whole lot of chippy shit going on at the buzzer. To me, it was just kind of a big result of like everyone's frustrated. We didn't win. We didn't tie it. I'm going to hit somebody. But
yeah.
I do think Kachuk went a little bit overboard there. He kind of needs to keep a cooler head.
I think swinging your stick at the
Yeah.
back of someone's knee while the ref has
Yeah.
you like by one hand and has the other guy by one hand is a little bit of a chicken shit move, because
It is.
you could really hurt someone that way. Like,
and we've been praising Kachuk all postseason, but you know, you got to call him out for that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was dirty, but kind of like it.
I mean,
is
yeah.
that bad? Is that
No,
bad?
I get
If it like
to
blew
me,
the guy's knee out, yes, but like
I would
Yeah.
rather see him like, I don't care. You can do whatever you want with your 2 hands in that situation. You can fucking punch somebody in the face with your glove, sucker punch them. I don't care. I love all that chippy shit. I don't think you should be using your stick in like a situation like that. Like no one else
Yeah.
was. He was.
I
the
mean,
only one
he didn't
still
Phil
holding his
Kessel
stick.
John Scott him, where like Phil Kessel tried to like decapitate John Scott
Yeah.
from like the waist down. But
Right.
yeah, it's not a good look for sure.
Yeah. He's frustrated. I get it, but
I think the bigger concern was the extracurriculars from the crowd last night. I mean, they
holy
trashed
shit,
that ice.
too.
Oh,
Just
shit.
And
Yeah.
this is like the second or third time we've seen sort of a newer hockey fan base
Yeah.
trash the ice, you know, in this postseason. So
Yeah.
I think maybe
and
we
a
need
southern one.
yeah,
Mm.
we need to have a discussion about that.
Let's use the word untraditional.
There we go.
We'll use new. I don't like the word new. I like
That's fair.
untraditional.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah, the shenanigans after the game got a lot of people pissed off on Twitter, per usual. What else was new? But I mean, yeah, like Max said, I think Florida just was like, fuck you, like, why can't we tie the game? And then I can't remember who it was, but someone pushed, I think it was McNabb into Hill, and then Aiden Hill started sucker punching someone, and then Kachuk started slashing people, and then all hell broke loose. And when I was at the bar watching, everyone's like, beat the shit out of him. I was like, this is what people want to see. Like, as weird as it, you know, as dirty as it might be, that's what people like. So,
I'm all for, after the whistle, hey, if like someone
Yeah.
grabs you and you want to give them a shove and it's time to go, let's go.
Yeah,
And I
it's the
don't mind a
stick
good,
stuff.
5-on-5 face wash contest. I thought it was hilarious. One of the Knights players, I think, had Bennett like on his back and like,
Yeah.
he wasn't hitting him while he was on the ice. He was just holding him down there. I'm like, that's all fine to me. But the shout out to the refs that have had to break that up the last 2 games, though. They've done a fantastic job in that arena.
Let's get some game 5 predictions going here. Let's start with Jackson. What do you got?
I know I picked Florida in 5, so this is looking really bad. But I'm gonna say I think Florida stays alive for at least a game 6. They'll probably lose game 6 at this point, but I think they're probably gonna just finally just kind of get back to basics, as we were talking about, go north and south, get pucks on net at this point. So I think they're gonna win. I'm gonna say it's gonna be another. I'm gonna say 4-2. It's gonna be 3-2, and Florida will get an empty netter.
Okay, Nick.
So Vegas probably should have won game 3.
Yeah.
They bounce back and get it done in game 4. They're gonna win game 5. It's gonna be 4-2. I think Theodore, Eichel, Stone, and Marchessault gets the empty net.
Ooh, goal scorers too.
Hey, okay.
Mac, what do you got?
I was tempted to say that Vegas would win because I kind of have the same thought process as Nick on this one, but I'm going to go with Florida to win one more game just because I think it's really hard to shut it down at home. Usually you win the cup on the road. That's just kind of how it goes for most teams. And I think there's something about, there's just a little too much pressure on you when like your home crowd is there, like just, cat nipping at the heels, like Nick said before. But I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas wins, but just to make it interesting, I'll say the Cats get one more.
Score prediction or?
Yeah, let's go another overtime game. 4-3 Cats survive.
Ooh, okay then.
And
you go, Nick.
Sorry. Yeah. Quickly to build off Mac's thing about winning the cup at home, the last team to win the Stanley Cup at home, it has been 8 seasons of the Chicago Blackhawks in 2015.
Are you serious?
They're the last team to win the Stanley Cup at home.
I thought, didn't Tampa win one?
I thought Tampa
had one at home.
I don't think so.
No, wait.
This article was written in 2023. So
I swear.
Or was it the stupid bubble year?
It might have been. So it was like not really.
Team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to think. Who did Tampa play in the Cup final?
Montreal.
No, and then the year after that,
Dallas.
No, that was
Dallas was in the bubble. And then Montreal was like that weird, like they were still in the arenas, but
yeah.
Is that who Tampa beat before they lost to Colorado?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. And they won it in Montreal?
I guess.
That doesn't seem
or wherever that bubble was. I don't
think that wasn't a bubble though.
No, it was
like limited capacity, wasn't it?
Oh, right.
Florida was full blown, and they were like, "Dude, it's a home game." And then Montreal had no fans, and they were like, "This is unfair."
That's right.
I'm scrolling down here.
I can't remember if they won that at home or not.
I know they won it. I know they won it while
Emily.
wearing blue.
Yeah,
like
that's
I can
what I was
see
thinking.
that
They were
in my
wearing
brain.
blue for sure. I
Yeah.
can see that.
Jay, who is the article by? I'm curious.
It was
Exposing.
by
Harrison,
the
you know
hockey
who's
writers.
who's about
Hockey
to kill
writers
us
are
for
good.
this, right?
That's where I get my trivia.
What? Hang on,
Yeah.
time out. What? Jay, who wrote it?
The hockey writers, and this was from May of this year.
Bad brand. Nick, what'd you say?
You know who's about to kill us for this, right?
Who?
Your aunt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Aunt
Yeah.
Vic, she's definitely gonna be pissed.
So yeah, fact check. It was Tampa Bay. They won 1-0 at Amalie to win the series.
All right, but they had whatever. That's an asterisk one because of all the weird shit.
I mean, if you think about it, all of their cups have been Mickey Mouse cups. No,
kind of. It's kind of true. It's kind of true.
I'm kidding.
Ooh. To Mac's point though, yeah, it does feel like everybody closes it out on the road. I mean, last year Colorado could have closed it out in 5 at home, and the arena was bopping, and then Tampa forced it to 6, and then they went on the road. So I have Vegas in 6 from the start. I didn't know how the first 4 games would play out, but I thought there would come a point where it was 3-1. So I'm going to say Florida stays alive, but I do think Vegas wins game 6. I'll go 3-2 1 Florida for game 5.
Okay.
Nice.
We'll see what happens. All right. That does it for the discussion portion of the episode. We'll wrap up with some news and some trivia, and then we'll be on out of here. Little roster move update. The LA Kings signed Gavrikov to a 2-year extension worth $5.8 million AAV. The Devils did a sign-in trade with Damon Severson. He goes to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the new contract is an 8-year deal at $6.25 million AAV.
I like that move. I'm a little bit surprised by term.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm an interdivision rival, and then he gets an 8-year deal. I did think that was a bit odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised by it.
And
I agree.
For what this guy is and for what he did in Jersey, I think 6.25 is a pretty darn good deal for 8 years.
Yeah, I think he's a good player. So we'll see how this one ages for CBJ. That top 4 looks a lot better all of a sudden. And then the Blackhawks, Jackson, your Hawks got Andreas Athanasiou to a 2-year extension for $4.25 million AAV.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. We need to get to the cap floor, so anything that'll help with that. I mean, Athanasiou is a good player, decent middle 6 guy who can play a bunch of different spots. I mean,
Yeah, speed.
Speed. I'm just trying to take a look at his stats from this past year. I mean,
I get Andrei Burakovsky vibes from this guy.
Yeah,
It's like you put him with the right people and he's fantastic. Outside of that, he's probably going to struggle a little bit, but once he finds his game, he can really help your team.
Yeah, I mean, he had his second highest point total in his career at 40 at 20 goals, 20 assists. So I'm okay with it. The minus 29, I'm not a big fan of, but that's with being on a bad team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Can we real quick while we're talking roster moves, where do you guys see Carter Hart ending up?
Great question.
That is a good one. Of course, Toronto's in the mix because it's a player that is of high profile. So everyone's
it's a fringe goalie that everyone knows the name of.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen Edmonton.
Yeah, I saw Edmonton.
I don't think the Flyers would move him to Buffalo. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, the Sabres need a goalie. Sabres need a goalie." I don't think the Flyers are that dumb.
They kind of do. They kind of don't. It's a weird mix up there. They had some goalies go through. Well, who's that college kid at the end that was sick? They called up the college kid.
Devin Levi.
Yeah, he was nasty near the end.
And Upper Peninsula had some good games too.
Yeah, he did.
Uko Pekka-Luukkonen, for anyone wondering. UPL.
That's a good Midwest joke right there.
Yeah, I do like that one. I'll throw a team out here who probably can't afford him because they kind of shot themselves in the foot with their current goalie. But St. Louis could use a goalie. I know that.
Yeah.
So that's one other team I'd say.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Anaheim get in that mix because apparently Gibson really wants out. They're going to need someone to step in.
I could see that, although I don't know how much.
Could see the 3-way deal where Gibson goes to where whoever wants to go. Philly sends Hart to Anaheim, and then Philly gets something out of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
A couple other teams that I've saw. This is from Broad Street Buzz that they suggested would be Ottawa and the Kraken as potential spots for Carter Hart.
Both of those would make a lot of sense to me too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up here with trivia. Nick, you got some feel-good news story, and then Mac, I'll let you do the trivia segment, and then we'll wrap up.
I don't think I put this in here.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, sorry. This strikes me as a as a Nick thing.
I would have thought that was a Manila note too.
Yeah, I feel like he does the good guy segment or the feel-good segment.
I try. Bring some happiness to your people's lives.
Let's give a shout-out to Sam Girard of the Colorado Avalanche. He is basically opened his house to housing some families who have been displaced by the Canadian wildfires. So that's pretty cool move of him. Very generous. So wanted to give him some praise for that. And then Mac, I'll let you do the trivia here.
Yeah, support your local dive bar and have a beer at Elwood's Liquor and Tap, home of the Pizza Luge. Located in the heart of downtown Milwaukee on Water Street, 70s inspired bar has a little bit of something for everybody. Got daily happy hour, rotating taps, free birthday perks, 4-season patio for your rainy days like today in Wisconsin. And a good time is always around the corner at Elwood's. They got the full NHL TV package, lots of TV screens inside and out. And don't forget to bring your dogs along too. They are a puppy friendly bar. So if you're in the Milwaukee area, head down to Elwoods, watch some hockey, get some free shots if your team scores and you're wearing the gear. And yeah, enjoy. It's a great bar, great time.
It is.
On to trivia. All right, boys. This one's fun. I like this. We're talking about Stanley Cup winning teams. This is one of my favorite Stanley Cup winning teams of recent, of the last decade or maybe slightly more. Wink, wink. Yeah. So let's jump in here. I guess you're looking for. There's a few answers here. There's a few blanks you can fill in. So I'll just leave them as blanks as I read through, and it'll be pretty obvious what you're looking for here. So, in 2012, this team, which I think you're going to figure out very quickly, finally won their first championship, and they beat a team 6-1 in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. I'm looking for any of the goal scorers that you can tell me. And for bonus points, I'm going to be really, really, really impressed if you can get this. First of all, do you know the team 2012? Can we get that out of the way real quick?
The Kings.
Great.
Kings and
We're talking about the Kings over the Devils. So the Kings took control of this final game after a Devils winger was given a 5-minute major and a game misconduct for boarding halfway through the first period. That was kind of the turning point of this game. If you can tell me that Devils winger who got the major penalty, I'll be very impressed.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Alexei Ponikarovsky?
No.
Okay.
But
I guess?
sure.
David Clarkson?
No.
Oh, that was
Okay.
a good one.
That was good.
Is this guy still in the league?
I don't think so. No, he
Okay.
can't be.
Because I was gonna guess Zach Parise.
No. So yeah, if you can tell me that, I'll be really impressed. But I'll also say, so it was a 6-1 final, but let's see, 1, 2. I'm looking for 3 guys that scored on the 5-minute power play to build a 3-0 lead, and then it kind of like took off from there.
Okay, so name the 3 players who scored all on that one power play.
Yes, for the Kings.
Gotta feel like Justin Williams has got to be a
Has
guy.
to be one, right?
Not one of them. Not one of them.
Wow.
Dang.
But the others are there's 2 pretty obvious answers and then one slightly less.
All right, give me Kopitar for one of them.
Nope.
Dowdy? Who is Dustin Brown?
Correct.
Who is Drew Doughty?
Nope.
Dang.
Got D Brown. Who is oh God. Mike Richards?
No.
Who is Jeff Carter?
Yes.
Oh,
Those are the two
Oh,
slam dunk
damn.
ones. The other one is still pretty solid. I mean, it's not a totally random name.
is it Marion Gaborik?
No.
Trying to
No.
think if this guy was even in the league at this point.
You guys
Uh-huh.
Who is Tyler Toffoli?
No.
Oh,
But I also was like, oh, this guy was there already.
I got a name in mind. I don't think he's a power play guy though. I'll go with Jarrett Stoll.
No, that's a good one though. It is kind of like a supporting cast member of this team in that Stoll way.
Is it Tanner Pearson?
Nope.
Ooh, that's a good guess, Jay.
I just remember those early 2010 Kings teams so well, just because of that.
Yep.
That 70s line gave me nightmares.
Okay, give me Alec Martinez. Why not?
Nope.
Fuck. I don't even know if he's on the team. I know he's 14.
Oh shoot. Trying to think of those teams.
single digit number, Mac?
Hold on. Let me confirm.
That's such a Nick question.
Because I'm also trying to think if this player was still in the league in 2012.
No, it's not a single digit number.
Okay.
Oh, so we took out 9 possibilities.
Yeah.
I
just
can
about.
tell you though.
Only 91 left.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah, he's still in the league.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's see. Yeah,
Trying to
still
think of
still in the league.
guys. Who-
well, who is that? The '70s line was Carter.
Toffoli and Pearson.
Yeah. Okay. We already guessed all
He's a
of them.
first round draft pick.
Oh.
Wow. Okay. Why do I feel like it's a defenseman?
No.
Okay.
It's a forward. Okay.
Who the fuck was? It's got to be a young guy. I feel like at the time.
Oh, why do I
Right.
feel like they had like a big, like, didn't they have like a big power forward or something? There's someone I'm forgetting.
Is it Penner?
No.
Good one.
He's not in the league still, is he?
Yeah, I don't know. You didn't know, so figured maybe it's one of those.
Fair
like,
enough.
Dude.
Fair enough.
I'm picturing this guy in my head, but I can't think of his name. It's like a big, like burly power forward that they had.
This is gonna kill me. I think I kind of know where you're going with this. Who the frick was it? Nick, you got something?
God, 2012. I can't believe I'm
Kings,
like,
power
oh, that was like
forward.
5 years ago, right?
Yeah, King's power forward.
11.
There you go. And he had a big beard. You said, right, Jay?
No, I didn't say about anything about
Oh.
beard. I just said he was burly.
That was just my. And it's not pancakes, so it's. This is gonna drive
Still
me
in
nuts.
the league?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you allowed to say who he plays for now?
I mean,
Or that gives
Don't.
it away.
Don't.
Well,
Yeah.
we've been here for 7 minutes, and
I don't give up that
he's
easily.
he's on a Canadian NHL team right now. How about
Oh. There's
Huh.
there's no way it's Philip Deneau, right?
that? No.
Okay.
Yeah, too young.
I don't think he was. Yeah.
And Deneau
yeah.
started with the Blackhawks.
True.
Oh,
Did
really?
he
I didn't know
actually?
that.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
I didn't know that
Yeah.
either. God damn it! This is gonna
This
drive.
Canadian team. Is it a Western Canadian team or an Eastern
I don't
Canadian
think you can
team?
give us that.
I
I
mean, do
feel
you
like
want
it's
me?
West.
Yeah, it's West.
Okay.
Is it Lucic?
Oh.
No.
No, never
Oh
mind.
God,
No.
no, because he was on the Bruins still.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We're spitballing here.
Western Canadian team. So that's the Jets, the
Flames,
Canucks, the
Oilers,
Flames.
Canucks. Someone's punching their steering wheel right now.
Come on, boys. You guys can get Nick. You can get this.
Nick, come on.
I'm
Help.
trying to think a guy.
Is he a big dude like Jackson's saying? Like that's
Somewhat. I mean,
it's really in my head right now.
he's 6'1".
Like, okay, so he's not like
He's a normal hockey player guy. you know.
Okay.
normal.
Just an average guy, you know.
Nick, help! Come on.
You saying it more is gonna make me think of it. I'm like,
That's why I'm
I'm
doing it.
literally going like line by line through like these
Let's see.
teams.
He has
Not single digits. That's the key thing they remember here.
Yeah.
he
That's-
played all 82 games this past season,
Fuck
Oh
me.
shoot.
and he had
It's not
20 points, 9
not-
goals, and 11 assists.
It's not okay, so it's not like Kadri or
No,
Oh.
not Cadre.
I was just trying to think of guys on the Flames.
I don't know if Mac ever confirmed it's Western Canada. I don't know if
No,
that
I
was-
said it's Western.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Oh.
It's not Buffalo because he used to with the Hawks at that point.
And it's not a
never-
defenseman, you said.
Right.
How are we not
Did-
getting this?
Oh, is it James Neal?
No.
No, I don't think he ever played for the Kings.
It's like one of the two teams he didn't play for.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. No, I mean realistically,
Um,
why do I feel like he's on Edmonton? I have no clue. I'm actually.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like,
Incredibly stumped.
this is gonna kill me when I don't.
He's
get
on the
this right.
Flames, boys.
Oh, so Jay was right.
Yeah, Jackson was right. He's on the Flames. He's only been on the Flames for the last 2 seasons, though.
2 seasons on the Flames.
Before that, looked like he had one
So-
season with the Jets, and then it was all Kings his entire career before that.
Oh man. Oh, he was a supporting cast guy. I'm trying to. Oh, Wasn't there one guy who got like arrested for something? That was
I
a
don't-
supporting character guy for the Kings.
Maybe I don't
Jared
know.
Stoll, I think, had a drug
Richards
encounter.
too. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
what. Oh
yeah.
my. Oh wait,
It's
no.
not-
Mike Richards is out of the league.
I guess that went off the start too. Damn. I have no. Who's on the Flame?
That's a good question.
Who's on the Flames?
Who's left
We
on
said
the Flames
Toffoli,
that they, did,
right?
that they didn't trade?
Yeah, it's not fully.
Okay,
And
that's-
isn't. Oh yeah, it's fully is up with.
but he played for the
now.
Jets before.
When I read, I did not know this guy played for the Jets. That totally escaped me. So I wouldn't think too hard about that.
I would say we've hit our.
Um,
I'd say we've definitely hit our
Time.
time
Yeah.
limit here.
Yeah, I give up.
really,
Yeah.
Trevor
Is it?
Lewis, boys.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, you all
Oh,
gotten that.
That's.
Like,
but
that
I will
wasn't-
admit that's a name I would never guess. Like
I should.
I know who he-
I thought Nick was gonna get.
That's like
I
the
should've gotten
one
that.
third or fourth liner from those Kings team I didn't
Yeah.
think
You guys
of.
haven't missed one in a while either. That
Yeah.
was.
That was
damn, that was a
rough.
good one, Mac.
Do you want to know who took the penalty? This one I don't think I could have ever come up with.
Yeah,
Who
sure.
was it?
Steve Bernier.
Oh my god.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Now you
Devils
said that,
winger
remember.
Steve Bernier.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That was a
never have
good
gotten that.
trivia. That one stumped us. That was good.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, hopefully we can redeem ourselves next week. That's the first one in a
Mhm.
while where we had to give up.
Yep.
Yep.
Could
be our last one of the season next week.
yeah,
Could be.
very true. Any final
Yeah.
notes from any of you guys before we wrap up?
Oh,
Not right now.
Just want to say a shout out to former guest of the program, Mike Comparetto, who is going to be welcoming a child in December of this year. So congrats to him and Sarah. That is fantastic.
Congratulations. All right. Well, once again, thanks to RA for joining us. Thanks to everybody for listening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Hopefully your steering wheel's still intact after you punch it 1,000 times over Trevor Lewis. And
it's Trevor.
Yeah.
and that basically wraps it up for us. So without further ado,
Class dismissed.